How in the world are you making $250,000 mowing grass and you're still broke? That's the reality of it. That's just the way it is. Hi, my name's Wayne Vose, Profits Unlimited. I've been a business consultant since 1990, as well as a full-service lawn and landscape company since 1979. And let me tell you, man, I was that person. I was doing as a 2-truck operation, doing about $300,000 a year, and I was flat broke. Yeah, I had cash flow and I was paying some of my bills, but I couldn't pay myself regularly. I wasn't keeping my suppliers paid regularly. And the frustrations of doing all that work and not having anything to save for it other than, yeah, the cash flow was good and I could charge things on a credit card and get some of them paid, but I saw my credit cards going like that and my line of credit at the bank going like that, and the pay down on it wasn't right. And I thought I was making money, but I really wasn't. And the reality of it is, a lot of you guys are in that very same position. So how do we get there? How did we get in that position? I can tell you how I got there, and I believe it's very similar to how you've gotten there. But the good thing is, we can get ourselves out of it. But the way we generally get ourselves there is very simple. Number one, we have a messed up way of why we charge what we charge, how we bid the job. And here's how most of us put ourselves in that position. And if you're honest with yourself and you don't try to bullshit yourself and say, no, that's not me, I think you're going to see that I'm right on this. And it's not about me being right and you being wrong. It's like, man, I was wrong for 9 years. It took me 9 years to figure out I could not do it like everybody else was doing it. Number one, the first thing I told myself when I was bidding my jobs, and it all goes back to mispriced mowing. That's just the reality of it, okay? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. But number one is I told myself, I'm small, I can do it cheaper. That is so far from the truth. And if you say you haven't had that mindset, I think you're lying to yourself. Yeah, we keep ourselves going. Yeah, the cash flow keeps us going, but we struggle. We can't pay ourselves. It's, God, I'm doing all this work, and now, my cash flow, my checks aren't coming in right. I'm not getting paid. You can do it differently. But what you got to get out of your mind is, I'm small, I can do it cheaper, using the guess method for bidding your jobs, thinking, man, hey, I'm working another job, I'm making $20 an hour, whatever you're making on that job, it doesn't matter. And you got that paycheck mentality. You're like, dude, I was making $20 an hour. I can go out and mow 3 lawns in an hour. If I charge $25, that's $75 an hour. My truck's paid for. You get in that mindset, my truck's paid for, my equipment's paid for, I can do it cheaper. The reality of it is, all that's wrong. All that is absolutely wrong, because your truck's going to have to be replaced, your equipment's going to have to be replaced, and if you're only bidding to satisfy the labor side of yourself and not to cover the expenses and the additional overhead of running your business and then adding your desired profit margin, you're going to have the mindset of, I'm small, I can do it cheaper, or hey, I was making $20 an hour at my real job, I can make $75 an hour or $100 an hour mowing lawns. That's so much better. No, it's just so much better in keeping you busy, but not giving you the opportunity to make any money, put any money away, and that's why you're broke. Then I hear, Wayne, well, you just don't know our market. Your market's probably different. Everybody's market's different. The market within the market's different. In other words, right here in Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm at, there's guys mowing for $25 to $40 a lawn as a minimum, and there's guys from $60 to $85 a lawn as a minimum, and everything in between. And that takes us to, it's your responsibility to know your market and know where within the market you want to position your mowing services so you're not having to work daylight to dark 6 days a week and still figure out, damn, I'm broke, I can't pay myself. And I guarantee, if you're honest with yourself, you've sat back and said, dang, I wish I was making more money at this. What I'm trying to help you guys with is to understand that just because you're doing it like everybody else, just because you're competitively priced within your market and within your competition and what they're charging, does not mean you're going to be profitable. You may be busy, you may have good cash flow like we did, but you may be broke like we were, and like a lot of you guys are. Not physically broke, maybe, but can't pay yourself regularly. Don't have any profit dollars left. Pay yourself based on what you call profit, but the reality of it is your labor's worth something. You should be paying yourself something before you say, hey, this is my profit on the job. That was a big mistake that I did to myself. That was a big mistake that I see contractors all over the United States and Canada do, is they pay themselves out of what's left. And they say, well, hey, I had a profit margin of 40% or 50%. Well, where's your salary in that? Well, I didn't take it, or I just took a couple $100 a week. Well, now you're paying yourself below market value of a job that you're doing. So why are you doing it? You don't need the busy work unless you're doing it just to stay in shape and for the exercise. You need to think about what's the profit margin with all expenses pushed in. In other words, your truck, your trailer, your lawnmowers, your string trimmers, your blowers, your labor costs, even if you're a one truck operation. Hell, I was a two truck operation doing $300,000 a year and was broke. So it's easy for a guy to be a one truck operation doing $150,000 a year and being broke. We don't understand. We don't know what we don't know. So you say you're going to go to social media for some help, right? That is the absolute worst place you can go. Because when you look at it again, let's look at back, what's the failure rates for the industry? Well, they're very great. So you got to be careful on what you're reading on social media as being fact. Another thing that I used to do was simply come out and ask the customer, what's it going to take to get your business? Now you may say, well, Wayne, that's ignorant. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Maybe it is, and it really is stupid, okay? But it happens a lot within our industry. And yes, I did have done that in the past. I don't do it any longer to ask somebody, well, what's it going to take to get your business? Because their mindset is programmed on the contractor that they had before me and the one before them, the two or three that they had that they no longer have, because they either didn't get the job done right, didn't show up. And why weren't they showing up? Simple. We're going to talk about that in a second. But don't ask the client what's it going to take to get their business, because what's that telling the client? It's telling them you don't know what you need to charge, and you're telling them that you're hungry. And even though you're hungry, and even though you may need the work, the last thing you want that customer to know is that you are hungry, because when you say what's it going to take to get the work, maybe they were paying $50 a week, but now they're going to say $45 because you've demonstrated that you need the work and you're broke, and they've read into that and talking to you. So now they're bringing the price even down further, and you're thinking, damn, it's only $5 less than what I wanted. I'll go ahead and do it and see if I can sell them something else. Don't tell me you hadn't thought of that, because I know you have. You have, because we get in a survival mode when we're making X number of dollars, whether it's $100,000, $200,000. Hell, I've worked with companies doing $1 million a year that are broke. And it's all because we use this type of pricing system, this type of bidding system. You've got to do your own methodology. Another thing that I hear all the time is, man, I had a friend that bought into this franchise and they told him to go out and undersell, get the jobs cheap and then raise the prices, and who stays, stays, and who goes, goes. And we'll just keep replacing them with better clients. That's stupid too. Why in the world do you want to go out and undersell your services, knowing that in 4, 5, 6 months, whatever time frame you come up with, hey, well, I'm going to go ahead and raise their price, 30%. If they like me, they'll keep me. If they don't, they'll fire me. Don't put yourself through that. I need to break into the market. I need to get my schedule full. and then I'll raise their price. Why don't you think about doing it a different way? Because once I changed my direction with my company of saying, hey, I can't worry what Mike and Susie and Larry and Curly and Mo are charging and getting in the middle. I need to know what it costs me. And that's what you need to know. What's it cost you? What are your costs per hour of operation based on your overhead, your use rates, and your desired profit margin? Then you can come up with what your minimum needs to be. Then you can look at your market and say, who within my market can afford what I need to have as a minimum? Maybe it's not the little old lady on Social Security wanting her yard cut every other week because she's on a fixed income. I know you've heard that. But what you can do once you understand cost and you get off of this dumbass bidding process that starves us all to death, you can be the survivor. You can be the guy that's not broke, the guy that's paying theirself, the guy that's seeing his company grow if you want it to grow, or you can stay right where you're at as whether you're a one truck operation or multi-crew company. But the point being is you got to take control of your company and not worry what Wayne's doing and everybody else in your market's doing. You got to take care of yourself, because who cares if you succeed or not? Your competitor doesn't, but you do. You care if you succeed. And if you want to stop being broke and you want to start paying yourself a very competitive and fair salary for what you're doing, you're not just mowing lawns, you're a business owner. And that fix is simply done with our know why you charge what you charge spreadsheet. It takes the guesswork out of bidding, 100%. It tells you what your break-even point is. We don't tell you what to charge. We show you how to calculate your break-even point so you can add to it what your market will bear. But what you're never going to go out and do again is undersell your services. But that's a choice that you got to make. Be sure to follow us and comment below.